Those two pieces were the hardest moments in my entire life. And in the beginning, I tried everything: meditation, journaling, manifestation. I am going to be that. I tried all these things. For me, they never had longevity. It felt good in the moment. That wasn't enough for me. Now, being 8 years past that moment, I am so thankful for that pain. That put us into a relationship that was so much stronger than what we had prior. And then it led to my next company. And, the fulfillment I get out of that is pretty great.
Whether you're looking for inspiration, guidance, or simply a moment of reflection, you're in the right place. This is Wisdom Stripes. What happens when a professional skateboarder trades in his board for boardrooms and builds a multi-million-dollar real estate empire along the way? Hello and welcome to Wisdom Stripes. I'm Meg Tuohey, and today we're diving into purpose, reinvention, and financial freedom through entrepreneurship. Our guest is Mikey Taylor, former professional skateboarder turned entrepreneur, investor, and city councilman for Thousand Oaks, California. He's the founder of St. Archer Brewery, which was later acquired by Molson Coors, and the president of Commune Capital, a private equity firm managing over 9,000 real estate units across storage and multifamily properties. From mastering balance on a skateboard to mastering the balance sheet, Mikey has built a career around resilience, creativity, and leadership. His platform now focuses on financial literacy, wealth building, and smart entrepreneurship, inspiring millions to rethink what's possible after one chapter ends and another begins. This is Wisdom Stripes, your no-nonsense, fierce fairy godparents, turning pain and confusion into clarity and confidence. Mikey, we always start with the same question for our guests. What wisdom would you like a listener to come away with today?
First off, thank you for that intro. Number two, the piece of wisdom I would want everybody to take away is probably expect you to go through challenges in your life. We're all going to have to go through them.
Yeah.
And so if you are very clear on what your purpose is, that will allow you to get through the tough times so that what you get to experience on the other end is actually a blessing. Because a lot of trial actually makes us stronger, makes us wiser. And we are tempted to avoid it at all costs, but it's actually the largest learning opportunity we have. So make sure your purpose is in line, which means you know why you're here, and knowing why you're here will allow you to get through those tough times.
I love all of that. I co-sign all of that. And I want to tell you what is playing in my head is this video that keeps getting shown to me on Instagram. Maybe it's been shown to you. Maybe we're on the same algorithm.
Let's hear it.
And it's this lovely, fit guy on a treadmill, and he's carrying a weight and he's running like his life depends on it. He is in full focus, flat stick, and everyone around him's just kind of working out. And this guy is hitting it. And then you watch him move into all of these sort of military combat poses where he's like on all fours and he's bouncing around. And you can see the fitness, you can see the focus, you can see the strength and the power.
Right.
And then you've got all these other people kind of working out a little bit in the background and watching him and like what is this guy? And that guy comes to me all the time. I don't know his name, I don't know the handle, but if you know it at home, listeners, you're welcome to tell me. But I am so inspired by that person because that person is playing full out and no one is there alongside him with him.
Right.
He is playing full out for his own strength and his own focus and his own, what I call heart print, like who he really is and the things that he wants to achieve. And it seems to me there's some kind of correlation between that and the way that you run your life.
Yeah, and it's interesting because fitness, not my thing.
Me neither.
Right?
Oh my
I
gosh.
am not into it. But the crazy part is there is so much truth about what you experience through getting in shape because all the front end is pain, right? It does not feel good. It's not something that you look forward to, or at least I hear. Once you start doing it, you actually look forward to it. But what the result is on the back end is feeling great. So you experience hard work on the front end for the benefit or delayed gratification on the back end. That's a principle that we take throughout our entire life, right?
Right. And the thing about building a body that is strong is that it has so many protective factors.
Right.
It is so good for your mental health, your physical aging, all the things. There is nothing that shows that being fit isn't the exact thing all of us need to do.
We do. So why are you and I so over it?
I
What are we doing?
every year for the last 5 years, I've committed. And I think that's why that guy lives rent free in my head, because he's not just at the gym going through the motions. He is playing full out.
Yeah.
And there's something so beautiful about watching somebody go for it in life.
I love that. I love the all-in mentality.
Me too.
100%.
Yeah. So it seems to me you're all in,
Yeah.
which is probably why I thought of this video.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Okay. So some of this I can't take credit for. This has been, for whatever reason, inside me since as long as I can remember. That when I get into things, I get all the way into them. There's no like midway. There's no get my foot in the water. It is nuke or nothing for me.
Yeah.
And so that's a gift and a curse.
Yeah.
Right? That could be very beneficial if applied to a productive task or a productive goal. But I know that part of my personality is obsession. It's obsessive behavior. And so that directed in areas that are not productive can be my downfall. So I've just been, maybe you'd call it blessed in a sense of being able to find things that I go all into that end up having a net benefit result. But I don't know how to turn it off.
No, well, that's the thing, right? There's it's a mastery gene,
right?
Where you go in and you learn something at the very highest level. So I have met people just like you. I, in my own way, am a version of a person just like you, where I have to know all the things.
Right.
And then I love really complicated things.
Okay.
I love complicated things that have lots of other pieces that are equally as complicated. Is your beautiful brain like that too?
In some regards, I would say how I'm built, and again, I can't really take credit for this one either. This seems to be just a kind of gift that was given to me. I can take very complex scenarios and bring them down to the core, right? So I've always had an ability to simplify, and I know that. So I don't know if I love complexity, but I love solving problems. I love when somebody says, you can't do this. And if I can't do it, I'm like, yes, I can. And so I do like that process. But what I've found is the more I have learned and the more capable I've become, the more complexity you can handle, right? But the challenge of that in my world is when you're communicating complexity, a confused mind says no. And so you have to learn how to take all of that information and say it in a way that's digestible so that the person listening can understand it. That becomes the biggest challenge with the more you learn and then learning how to communicate it at I don't want to say dumbed down level, because that's not fair, but in a way that is anyone can hear it regardless of what they know is probably the best way to say it.
Yeah, bite-sized pieces.
Bite-sized pieces. Have you ever heard about how you need to communicate to resonate? The level in which you need to speak?
Tell me.
Okay, so this is a fascinating one. What they say is for you to be a great communicator and you to get buy-in from your audience, you have to be able to speak at a third grade level. That is the level that the masses can digest and remember, right? And so this example is going to be polarizing, but it's one of the best examples I've ever heard in this. So I read this book called Winning Bigly, right? And it was all about the psychology of sales. And the two examples he gave was Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in the 2016 election. And he started watching the way they were communicating, and he wasn't bought in on either way. He was breaking it down from a psychological standpoint of communication. And what he said was Trump communicates at a first grade level and Clinton communicates at a seventh grade level. And so his point was Trump is going to take way more buy-in because he's speaking at a level that is digestible versus Clinton, who's speaking too elevated for mass buy-in. And then the fascinating part is the summer of 2016 in this book, he shares that something happened on the Clinton team that basically came in and taught her how to communicate correctly. So in the book, they say a monster, like a big fish, just jumped into her team and is teaching her what to do. And so she started communicating closer to that third grade level, and it shifted to becoming more competitive. And who the person was that jumped in her corner was Robert Cialdini, who wrote the book and is basically the godfather on this. He wrote the book Influence. So it's so fascinating that that's kind of a real life example for us, whether you are a fan of Clinton or a fan of Trump, that one kind of aspect of it is kind of a perfect visual of this whole principle.
Yeah, I also, so to add on to that, I like the idea of translating.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when we are able to turn or distill complex ideas into simple structures that are digestible for both people, we are in fact translating.
Yeah,
And in order to be able to do that, you have to have a level of mastery.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like
So
that.
without that mastery, you can't break it down without having pieces that are missing.
Yeah.
And then people can feel when things are missing. And so then they're like, yeah, but what about this bit? And so the translator in a level of mastery is able to predict the yeah buts and build that into the sequence of communication.
I like that. That's really good.
You like it?
Yeah, it's spot on.
Okay. So professional skateboarder, real estate developer, councilman, is that the right terminology?
Normally, the only caveat is right now I'm the mayor pro tem, which is basically like the vice mayor.
Vice mayor. Pro tem?
Yeah, pro tem.
Okay. So we have skateboarding, we have real estate developer, and we have vice mayor. Those three things feel quite different on the surface. Tell us about how those three things came to live in your body and your experience of life.
Okay, so this is probably the most common question I get is how does this make any sense? Skateboarding, I started a craft brewery, real estate development, city council. How do those things exist together? And probably the biggest jump for those is actually skateboarding to real estate.
Okay.
Because in craft beer was a product that was actually had a lot of crossover in skateboarding, right? A lot of skateboarders drink beer.
That's right. And craft.
And craft beer specifically.
Yeah.
But I did have to learn business. And so a lot of the business that I learned actually was through the skateboarding industry because you are the closest thing to a solopreneur, right? You are in charge of everything. You have to line up the filmers. You have to line up the photographers. You have to negotiate your deals. If you were like me, I had my own signature lines. So I had a signature shoe, a signature clothing capsule, a signature board. And so I was very involved on the design aspect. And then I had to learn how to sell that so that I could make money, right? And so you gather a lot of skills from being in that environment. Probably the most impactful one is with skateboarding, it's very unique in the sense of when a trick is done at a spot, that trick cannot be done again, right? So if you're a surfer, this one's going to make sense for you. If somebody did a backhanded barrel at Pipeline one time, no one gets to do that again on film. So what that creates for skaters is you have to go to a spot and try to find a different way to approach that spot that other people didn't see. And so we're basically programmed to attempt to look at the world differently and find pockets that others miss to then apply and become the opportunity. And so that was probably one of the biggest takeaways I had that helped me in business. The challenge is business is not done alone. Business is a team sport. So I had to learn a lot about managing people. But once I understood business, you can actually apply it to different industries if you're willing to humble yourself, learn the different dynamics of the new industry you're going into, and then you kind of do the same thing, right? So even though real estate development and craft beer are polar opposites, what's the same? You got to market your product, you got to sell your product, you got to manage the finances, you got to manage the people. And so once I learned how real estate investing worked, it works like small business. And then it just became bringing in the right team to then build the vision. City council, a lot of the policies that we create are around real estate. So that was actually, like I walked in one of my first meetings, it felt like I had been on city council for a very long time because the language that the developer was speaking to me about getting a project entitled, I do on a daily basis. The part that was unique was having to run a campaign to get voted, to get elected. That was the Wild West for me.
I wondered whether that actually might have some similarity to building the brand in skateboarding.
You know what it felt like? Running a campaign feels like a startup on high octane. It's, some of the stuff is still at play, right? You have to create a brand and you have to create a vision that people buy into.
Yeah.
Then you got to go take that. And if they get buy-in, then you get votes. And if you get votes, you get elected, right? You can't do it alone, so you have to build a team of your walkers and the design and the, people raising money. The challenge that I had, or what was new, I'm used to being able to either raise money and then hire a team with the working capital I have. I was not used to having to get people to donate time to work for me. So that was a little bit different than what I was used to.
How was that uncomfortable for you? Because when something is unusual to us, our brain will first see it as a threat because it's unfamiliar.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. The part that was normal for me is I had started multiple companies up until this point. So I had recognized where my, let's call it, trigger is, right? Because every company I've ever started, there's always a moment where I get scared and my brain starts coming into play and tries to attempt to talk me off the ledge. Over years of experiencing that, I have just realized that that is actually my indicator to step forward, not step back. And so that was very helpful for me. I would say the part that was the most uncomfortable is I had to door knock.
Ooh.
I didn't like that. I didn't like anything about that. But I knew it had to be done if I wanted to win. And so I just started knocking on doors. Knock, knock, knock. Hi, I'm Mikey Taylor. I'm running for city council. I'd love your vote. Can I tell you about what I want to do? And that was uncomfortable until it wasn't, right? Repetition kills fear, right? Or maybe you can say repetition breeds confidence. Eventually, it was nothing. But that was uncomfortable in the beginning.
But I can hear the familiarity of the script, even as you did it for us.
Yeah.
I can hear the thousands of times you've done that.
Oh, yeah.
It came through.
Oh, yeah. I was walking 4 hours a day for 3 months, just knocking doors.
I mean, did you accidentally get fit?
Did I accidentally get what?
Fit.
Oh, I did actually. Oh, man. So I had to get a stylist, right? To help me not look like a either skater or a startup founder. I had to look polished.
Yeah.
So I had somebody come in and help me with suits and all this stuff, right? And 3 months later, she said the same thing. She goes, wow, I didn't realize that you were a little bit... I can't remember how she said it. It wasn't pudgy, but she said it very nicely that you were a little bit bigger than I thought. And now she's like, you look great. So I was like, thank you. So I was probably walking, 30,000 steps a day or something like that.
I mean,
yeah.
That's going to add some fitness.
Yeah. So I was looking good at that point.
Yeah. And also it occurred to me you must have been fit to be a skateboarder as well.
Well, yes. So like when I say I don't like fitness, I'm not good at just being fit without a goal in mind. So when it came to skateboarding, number one, if you're going to skate 5 hours a day for 30 years, you're going to be in shape, right? Secondarily, I wanted to skate at a higher level. And so that goal or desire made working out not as bad because it was for a certain kind of outcome. Now, it's hard, right? Like it's hard when my focus, and here comes the obsession, is all in on, let's say, growing my business. And I'm like, I got to go take an hour out of my day and go work out.
Yeah.
But that would be actually a good distraction.
And a good reset.
It is.
A good pattern interrupt.
Anybody listening to this, if you can just leave a comment, send me a DM saying, this is why you need to do this. Let's get me on board. I know that is an area of improvement in my life.
It's mine too.
Yeah.
And it's something for me about the transition. I love to get started on work. I love working. I love the complexity of the world that I've made for myself. I love it. And so I actually don't really want to leave it and go into my body, which hurts when it moves.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah.
When you wake up, do you wake up, go straight to work, or do you have a...
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. I know. My wife is pregnant right now.
She is?
She is. And what I told her, because she's now, complaining is not the right word, but she'll say things like, oh, I was in shape and now I'm pregnant. And so I'm telling her, babe, I will do this with you. Let's have the baby. Let's commit together. We'll have accountability. So maybe she's the one that helps me and we tag team this thing.
Well, I have to say that is literally what my husband and I have just decided.
Yeah, that's good.
We are doing it together.
Good.
And I have 2 children, so the 4 of us do it together.
Oh, I love that.
But, I did now leave to go away for a few weeks to do this podcast tour, and I'm not doing it.
I know. Traveling is so hard to stay on your... Yeah.
Well, give me a little out.
I'll give you the out. I know it. I travel a lot. You run out of routine quick.
Yeah, you do. And you're also doing lots of other opportunities, which is really nice.
Yeah.
But also I'm a bit avoidant.
Yeah, I hear you. You're speaking my language.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk skateboarding.
Okay.
So for those listeners who might remember you back in the day, tell us about your highs, your lows, your experiences, the people that you were skating with, what life was like in your heyday as a skater.
Okay, life was fun. Life as a pro skater was very fun. I would get a call on a Wednesday, and my team manager would say, "Hey, we're going to go to Paris next week." Okay, cool. We're going to Paris, right? I get a call, "Hey, we're going to go to Spain." So I got to see the world multiple times. That was really fun. The freedom of, like I could wake up at 10 if I wanted, skate for 4 hours, go do some other things I was interested in was cool. The community of skateboarding is pretty special.
Yeah.
So growing up in the 90s, skateboarding was not accepted. We were outcasts. And because of that, if you went into a different city and you didn't know anybody and you saw a skateboarder, there was like an immediate connection and, hey, you're new here, let me take you around, right? So there was like this very like family-esque feeling that you have with skateboarding. And in that you have like a us against the world type of dynamic. That's special, right? When I got married, it was fun bringing my wife into it. Like I started skating contests and my wife got to get connected with all the other pros with wives and they got to hang out. There was something very fun in that, right? I would say the high for me, maybe if I'm looking at my skateboarding career as like a business, getting my first signature shoe, that's like a huge staple that only 5% of pro skateboarders get. So that was massive. When I saw somebody wearing my first shoe who wasn't a skateboarder, that was mind-blowing for me. So that was really fun. I would say winning I got 6, but that was the best I ever did. I got 6 at the X Games, which was really cool for me. And then I would say the hard part for me, injuries are tough as a pro skateboarder. So that was a challenge to get through.
Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt completely aligned with who you truly are? Not who others expect you to be, but your authentic self. In my new book, Heartprint, I share the story of Ellie and her wise woman, Elizabeth, a journey that will help you reconnect with your own inner wisdom. Like a fingerprint, your heartprint is unique and unchangeable. It's always there, even when life's pressures make you feel disconnected or small. Through this intimate story, you're going to discover how to trust yourself again and make choices that honor who you really are. Visit www.megantuohey, which is Megan Tuohey.com/book to begin your journey home to yourself.
Probably the 2 biggest challenges I ever had was how my career ended. I had hurt my hip. I tore a ligament in my hip. I had a fracture in my hip, and I was skating with it for about a year.
Ouch.
And it hurt. It was not fun. But to really go deep on it, I had about 2 years left on my shoe deal and my clothing deal. And it was at the point where I was like, I think I'll get another deal after that, but that's probably going to be my last one. So I'm now on like the golden years of my career. And so I called my sponsors and I was like, hey guys, what do you guys want me to do? Like I could fix my leg. I'm going to be out for 4 months and then I'm going to be back skating. Do you guys want me to do that? Or like, if you guys just want me to power through, I'll power through for the rest of this contract. And my sponsor said, no, fix your leg. All good. So I have surgery on my leg. 2 weeks after, I'm laying on the couch, I can't walk, and I get a call and they found a loophole in my contract and ended the deal. That was a shock for me because as much of an entrepreneur as I am, I like having a plan in my head as well. So the plan got kind of thrown out from under me and I had to make kind of the decision, like, what do I do here? And so as I was trying to navigate through, do I heal up? Do I, get back to skateboarding and do I try to find another deal? At the same time, my wife, now experiencing me being home for 2 months, which was not our, current flow, she looked at me and goes, I don't know if I can do this again. Like, I don't know if I can do you going back to that lifestyle. Like, I knew it was hard on me. I didn't realize how hard it was, but now that you're here, I do.
No, she missed you.
Yeah, and kind of to add to that, now this goes into your lane, right? She goes maybe a week later, and honestly, like, I am miserable. Like, this isn't what I want. So I got hit with career ending.
Yeah.
In that, I had a lot of identity loss.
Yes.
I had purpose lost. And then I had my marriage basically like what felt like on the ropes. And so that was probably the biggest turning point in my life. I had to make kind of some big decisions there. And so I kind of put some feelers out there to see like if there was a path to continue in the industry. And right when I figured out there wasn't, it was, okay, done with this. And then it was rebuild the marriage. And so I spent probably a year or so with my wife, like really trying to address what those key issues were, trying to do a lot of changing to establish our relationship to where it should be in alignment. And so we could fire on having a healthy relationship. Those two pieces were the hardest moments in my entire life. Now being, 8 years past that moment, I am so thankful for that pain. Like that put us into a relationship that was so much stronger than what we had prior. And then it led to my next company and, the fulfillment I get out of that is pretty great.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I have a few questions, but the first one I want to go back to is something you said kind of at the beginning of that story, and it struck me. You talked about the community of skateboarding, how you could go to a different city, you were outcasts, and you would see someone skating and they'd be all like, come with me, and they'd show you the inside of their city and you felt like you would belong, essentially. Right. And it seems to me that probably it felt like that in the company that you were with the sponsorships that you had, it would have felt like family. And so in your time of need where you gave them the choice, they outed you from the family. And not just all the other things, but that loss from the brotherhood, I imagine, or at least the family community, that must have been excruciating if I'm accurate.
Yeah, it was hard. It was definitely hard. Now, to like bring everybody into the actual inner workings of the industry, what was happening back then, not as much now, but all companies were promoting exactly what you just said, a family-like team, right? And there was a lot of power in that from a company standpoint, because if you brought kids in to feel like they were part of the family, that then actually gave them a lot of leverage to, in some regard, control the amount of money that you make, control you leaving for other companies that will potentially do more for you. And that kind of was exposed more recently, and that's not really at play, but my entire career it was. So that was definitely hard. And then I would say the other part with that is, as skateboarders, especially growing up in the 90s, like that's what we are. We are skateboarders, right? And then you move that into a career, and before you know it, your identity becomes pro skateboarder. And I had like a really large following, right? So when all of that is stripped away, then you're left with, oh, I'm not part of the family, and like, who am I?
Yeah.
And that was, a lot of pain in that. That was hard.
Yeah. And then also that equivalent in your relationship with your beautiful wife as well. Even though I can see how much you grew out of it and how wonderful that was, those two things at the same time, that's a lot.
Brutal.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I get to be on the other end. But going through that, it was, the only thing I could say, it was dark. Oh, well, yeah.
It is one of those darkest before the dawn moments.
100%.
Where you're built into the next version of yourself. You got to face the things.
Yeah.
You got to grow into the version of you that has a different experience with those things. And that is like a reset. It's huge.
Yeah.
And I think every human has to go through their version of that. I wonder, from this vantage point where things are resolved and things are really wonderful, I wonder if you can speak to anything that might have helped you during that time that you now know that you learned along the way, so that those beautiful listeners out there that are in their own dark night of the soul can learn from the wisdom of someone who's come out the other side.
Yeah, that's a big question. I would say for me, and I'll tell you what it felt like and what I thought it was in the moment, because that actually might be more helpful than me telling you in hindsight. So in the moment, what I was experiencing was I had a skill set that I very clearly developed. I was, a successful pro skateboarder for 14 years. I started one of the fastest growing breweries in California. We had a large exit to a massive corporation. I had a skill set that I knew how to apply. When that happened, it was as if I didn't know where to apply those skills anymore, right? Or I didn't even know the game to play.
Yeah.
And in that, I was watching myself, who is a very optimistic and, charismatic and like kind of a glowing type of personality. All of a sudden, I was like, what am I supposed to do, right? posture changed, like outlook changed. And that was the only thing I can say is it was dark. It was like the light was going out, right? And so what I kept telling myself is, I've got to get back to me. How do I get back to who I was, right? And in the beginning, I tried everything. Meditation, journaling, manifestation. I am going to be that. I tried all these things. For me, they never had longevity. It felt good in the moment. That wasn't enough for me. And so what my experience is I got to the point where I basically had to get on my knees. This is how it was for me, right? And what that looked like for me was, I can't get out of this alone. All these tactics are not enough. And what I was attempting to do was find my actual identity that could never be taken from me. That was a big one. I wanted to find something that couldn't be taken. And so here's where I landed. I wanted to answer basically two big questions. The identity, so who am I? And the purpose, why am I here? And I had avoided those questions for a long time because they're scary, right? Those are things that are probably the most important things we ever answer. I didn't want to answer it. And so I started with, for me, why am I here? And so I got to the point where I felt like I was created. I did not feel like I was here for an accident. I felt like I was created for a reason. And so I was like, okay, if I'm created for a reason, I guess I'm going to start with the Bible. And so I made this goal that I was going to read the entirety of the Bible, right? I put myself on a yearly program, and my morning routine was this: wake up at 5:30, grab a coffee, do 30 minutes of reading every single day. And about halfway through, something very significant happened, and I wasn't even aware of it. I'm picking up at this time, 2 kids from my mother-in-law's house. And I grab them. They're little. It's late at night, so I've got them on my shoulders walking to the car. And my wife's mom stops me as I'm walking out. And she's like so sweet and she's quiet, And she goes, Mike, hey, Mike. And I'm holding the kids. I'm like, what's up, Nan? And she's like, I just have to tell you that I have known you now since I was 15 years old, right? Wow. So I've known you for 20 years. The man that I see today looks nothing like the man I saw 6 months ago, 10 years ago, or even the kid I knew at 15. And I just want to tell you, whatever you are doing, it's fruitful, right? And I was like so taken back by it. I put the kids in the car. I'm driving home thinking about it. And what happened at the same time is a lot of the challenges that I was having with my wife were actually right-sizing as well without knowing it. And so now where I'm at, my wife, basically the complaint that she was constantly talking about that I just couldn't hear was, one, she never felt like she was part of my life. So she didn't feel like we were doing life together. She felt like I was doing life and kind of pulling her along. And 2, she felt like I was never leading the way she wanted me to. And what happened is, as I started getting more and more rooted with who I was and why I was here, she started trusting the kind of guiding principles that were now driving my life. And that helped a lot. And so where I landed on it, I believe that I was created. So I think there's a creator. I think that creator is God. My identity is to do everything in my life with the skills that he gave me to glorify him. And those two, identity and purposes, now, as you apply them to my business, apply them to me on city council, apply them to my relationships, if one of those things falls off the board, I don't get reelected for city council. My business goes out of business. I have a friendship that doesn't work out. That now no longer challenges my identity. My identity is sealed and solid. These are just opportunities for me to apply my purpose to them. And once I discovered that, everything changed for me, everything. So that's how I got through it. I have tested almost everything. If you are somebody that likes learning from somebody else's mistakes, that was, you could argue, 35 years of trying to figure this out. And that was my outcome. So I would very highly recommend, if you are struggling with this, pick up the Bible, start reading it, right? And most importantly, answer those questions. Those are, if we don't know why we're here, you have no reason, or you have no ability to gauge the things you're doing and decide if you're doing them well, because you have no end goal. You could say it in investing terms. If you don't know what your end goal is, you cannot make the proper investments to get there. And so you have to start with the end in mind. We should be doing that with life. It's just we don't because it's hard. Those are difficult questions to answer, and they're scary, you know?
Yeah. And unfamiliar.
And very unfamiliar. That's right.
It's not as though many other elders in our communities have led by example to disclose or show how they have made sense of their purpose.
That's right.
And their mission about
That's right.
why they're here.
Yeah.
You know, I have a book coming out and it speaks to this. It's really fascinating.
I love that.
The book is called Heartprint, and it's the idea that every heartprint is unique as your finger or thumbprint, and that our greatest job is to live in coherence with who we really are.
Right.
So we know who we are, and in doing so, we're going to have much higher levels of satisfaction, contentment, and that sense of what I make and what I contribute matters because it's an expression of who I am. And when I was listening to you say, I know who I am, and so I have my work here, I have my investment here, my mayor stuff here, my parenting stuff here, my husband's stuff here. And if those things change or some of them don't work out, I still know who I am.
That's right.
It's like your expression of self goes through all of those things. So you have this coherence.
Yeah, that's right.
And that is where we find satisfaction and contentment, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's good.
You like that?
Yeah, that's really good. And it's interesting because a lot of people have to go through this issue when they retire. This is a very common pain point for people who retire.
And midlife.
And midlife.
Yeah.
Correct.
Midlife crisis for nothing.
Yeah.
That's
right. And one thing I'm just going to mention because your thesis of your book, actually I got to experience in real life just a week ago.
Tell me.
I was at a real estate conference in Tulum and I was giving a keynote. And after the keynote, I did a Q&A and somebody raised his hand and he said, hey, I'm listening to everything you're saying about branding and showcasing yourself and all these things, but I'm not unique. Like there's nothing very cool or different about me. And so I've kind of just accepted that I can't do any of the things you talked about because there's nothing that special about me.
Oh, because you're like a skateboarder. Is that what he was kind of referencing? Like you've got these unique selling points.
Well, what I think actually he was saying was when he was looking out at the examples maybe in his industry, he was I'm not like that. I'm not like that. I'm not like this, right?
Got it.
And basically what I told him, and I think it's very in line with you, is that none of us were created the same. There's a ton of uniqueness about us.
Yes.
And so for you, the first thing you have to do is recognize that. You cannot have the outlook that there's nothing special about you. There is something special about you. And if that is different than what you're seeing, that's an advantage, not a weakness. And it was just really cool. Like I wish somebody would have, spoken that to him sooner, but you saw it change in him. He was like, oh, that is interesting. If I'm not very, all over the place and I'm more rooted, okay, there's a lot of coolness about that.
Absolutely.
Right? There's security in that. There's confidence and trust that's built in that. Lean on that. So I like that. I like where you're going with that book.
Yeah, and I like also the idea of Dr. Seuss, and I've kind of massaged it into my heartprint idea, which is like the youest you that there is the greatest gift you can give to yourself and to others.
Yeah.
So embracing who you are and leading from that space as your foundation, I think, is where we start to see a quality life where you're like proud of yourself and connected with yourself. And in that space of like, I'm having a good life. I have contentment. I have satisfaction. I have purpose. And each day I can go to bed feeling congruent.
Yeah.
And when we're in that congruent, that space, it just feels so much better to be in the world.
That's right. So for anyone who's a people pleaser, I feel you because that's my natural personality. If you're a people pleaser, you will never achieve what you just mentioned. So it's very important for personalities like mine. You have to become comfortable with who you are so that you give people the opportunity to actually build a relationship with the real you. But if you're running around trying to be something different so that you get praise from others, you will be stuck in a situation where you will actually be miserable. I've tested this one out. So that might be some of the wisdom that, if you're in alignment with my personality, you have to avoid that at all costs. You won't be able to do it unless you get very comfortable with who you are. So maybe some of the exercises that I mentioned for me to actually be okay with how I was made and be okay with my uniqueness, it is going to mean that there are some people out there that aren't going to vibe with you. But you're actually going to have real relationships that you were actually missing by going after the masses that have fake relationship. Narrow that down, niche down on that, and actually build meaningful relationships.
Yeah. The people for you aren't going to pass you by.
No, that's right.
Right. And
that's
it's
right.
all right that if you're not for everybody.
Yes.
But there's so much tolerance to discomfort, to understand that not everybody likes you or agrees with you or wants the best for you. That is just part of the human condition.
That's right.
And so what we're looking for is you being the youiest you that there is, and allowing yourself the gift of growing into being able to tolerate the discomfort of being in an out group sometimes and being in an in group with the people that you love, and the wisdom to know when to look outwards for that data to come in, because that's always helpful, and when to not let the outside come in, because that is also helpful.
That's very good. The youiest you.
The youiest you.
That's good.
I think it's the nicest thing. We run Q&A calls as part of my company. And one of the things we say just before we break to send people into breakout rooms to have conversations, we'll say at the end, we want you to write your distinctions. What did you learn from where you were? And when you write that, you are teaching yourself, because remember that old adage, see one, do one, teach one, right? So you see it, and then you practice it, and then you teach it. And that's how you build a new skill set. Anyway, we say, go write your distinctions and post them, because you will have heard something in a way that nobody else heard, even if they were in the room with you.
Right.
Because you have your own unique set of filters, experience, your own connections. And then when you teach that, you become stronger in that understanding for yourself, which only serves you, and other people get to learn from you at the same time.
That's good.
Yeah. So I love that. And so my last question for you, my friend, is we have covered a lot of ground. It has been really fun. And the last question is, what piece of wisdom might you like to leave a listener with today?
All right. I'm gonna now go back around to the beginning, because I think this is the best outlook for us to live our lives. We are naturally going to avoid conflict. We are naturally going to avoid being uncomfortable. Right? Our bodies do not like getting uncomfortable. Do everything in your power to change that reframe. You have to reframe it. And so start looking at challenge as the opportunity. What you are going to get on the other end is going to be more impactful and stronger than what you went into. So whether that's marriage, this is going to be a big one. If you are married, you will go through seasons of winter. It's going to happen.
Yes.
Right? When you go through them, what I promise you, if you get through it, your relationship will be stronger. There will be more depth. You will be more attracted to your husband or your wife than before you went in. Normally, we avoid that. Don't welcome it. Get through it. Experience the blessing on the other end. Then, when you look forward in life, knowing we are all going to go through those challenges again, it's now encouraging to get through it, as opposed to you thinking, oh, this is a sign that I shouldn't be doing this. I'm going to abandon and go do something else. So give yourself the opportunity to grow. You cannot grow without discomfort.
Oh, I love that. And there is something about that us against the world when I'm thinking about two people in a relationship, where it feels like when you've come out of that season of winter, which is very normal, your partner is there as a mirror and an opportunity to pull you into the next version of you, should you take their influence and should they receive yours. So when you are able to take each other's influence and grow into the next versions of yourself, you get this aspect of us against the world.
Yeah.
And that is a place of great wonder and joy and opportunity. Yeah.
There's a lot of good songs about that.
There probably is. Yeah. It has been such a fun thing to talk to you today, Mikey. Thank you for coming into the studio and hanging out with us. We have had just such a great time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. A big thank you to Mikey Taylor for joining me on Wisdom Stripes. In this episode, we explored his evolution from professional athlete to purpose-driven entrepreneur, his commitment to financial education, and how he's helping others create wealth and freedom on their own terms. You can follow Mikey on Instagram and YouTube at Mikey Taylor. and learn more about his work through commune.capital. And to stay connected with me, follow at Meg Tuohey Official on Instagram. Thank you for tuning in to Wisdom Stripes. I'm Meg Tuohey, and I hope you gained a little wisdom today. Thank you for listening to this episode of Wisdom Stripes. Follow me on at Meg Tuohey Official and leave a comment and review. I'm looking forward to meeting you here next time on Wisdom Stripes.